Let's talk about Syracuse football's defense, shall we? And I want to preface this conversation by saying, think about this year and the big change that Syracuse made on its coaching staff heading into 2025. Rickie Brumfield is in his first year as the special teams coordinator of Syracuse. And I think we can all agree that Rickie Brumfield has done a very nice job with Syracuse with their special teams this year. They nearly recovered another onside kick, and this one was much tougher to recover. It was against SMU, of course, in the fourth quarter, because this was not a surprise onside kick. This was a planned onside kick, and they nearly got it. They created the fumble that you want on an onside kick. This is a pretty good special teams. Rickie Brumfield has done a great job with Syracuse football. I mention this because change with the staff is sometimes good. It can be good. Now, I don't think that Syracuse needs to do anything with their offensive coordinator, Jeff Nixon. In fact, I hope that Syracuse is able to keep him again this offseason, because I'm sure there will be teams, whether it's in college or the pros, that are interested in him. I hope they can keep him, and I'm not going to let Rickie Collins not being good influence my opinion on Jeff Nixon. I know Jeff Nixon's a good offensive coordinator, but if you give him a terrible quarterback, he can do his best, but at the end of the day, if the guy can't make an accurate throw, he can't make an accurate throw. I don't know what you want him to do. If you can't hit a Darryl Gill that's wide open in the middle of the field for a touchdown, that's not Jeff Nixon's fault. But so I say that you don't need to change Jeff Nixon. You definitely don't need to change Rickie Brumfield, and you're certainly not changing the head coach and Fran Brown. Elijah Robinson, the defensive coordinator, he's got to go by the end of the season. I'm fine with giving him the rest of the year, because I don't know really what good it does to fire a coordinator midseason in college. Like, I just don't see the point in doing that right now. But I'm at the point, yeah, it's time. And you might be confused. You might be surprised. Jackson, why are you saying this after what happened against SMU? SMU, that was a pretty good defensive performance, right? So you're going to now sit here and say that Elijah Robinson should be let go? That he should no longer be the defensive coordinator of Syracuse by the end of the season? I mean, Syracuse, they got an interception and a safety in the fourth quarter. They also had 9 tackles for loss. And for the first time all year, they actually held a team under 400 yards. And they held SMU to 76 rushing yards on less than 3 yards a carry. I say all those positive things to say this. They still allowed 31 points and 370 total yards. Even when the Syracuse defense is quote unquote good, we have to understand that it is by the Syracuse standard of good defense. In reality, this is a terrible defensive unit. You want to talk personnel? We could talk personnel all day. You want to talk coaching? I mean, that's what we're kind of doing right now, right? And we'll get to some personnel in just a moment and how Syracuse should approach on that front. But top to bottom, this is a really bad defense, because even when they are good against SMU, they're not actually good. You gave up 31 points and 370 total yards. You didn't shut SMU down. You didn't. You didn't have to give up I think it was 3 consecutive touchdowns in the first half to go down 24-0. You didn't have to. This is not a very, very good defense. They are currently last in the ACC in yards allowed a game, and they are second last in the conference in points allowed per game. And it's not just this season that they are bad. They were also bad last year on defense. In 2024, 12th in the ACC in yards allowed. So that's bottom half of the conference. And they were 14th in points allowed per game. So they weren't good last year. And last year they had the following personnel. Ready for it? Fadil Diggs, Justin Barron, Elijah Clark, Marlo Wax, Clarence Lewis, And I mentioned all 5 of those guys because all 5 of them got legitimate looks in the NFL. Fadil Diggs was drafted. Was Marlowe Wax drafted too, or was he an undrafted free agent? I can't remember off the top of my head, but all of them signed undrafted free agent deals right after the NFL draft if they weren't drafted. They got legitimate looks in the NFL, which shows you that they have talent, right? They have talent to be able to get looked at by the NFL. Syracuse also had Murad Watson, who was a true freshman All-American defensive lineman, no longer with the team. He's with Texas. Deuce Chestnut, and Devin Grant. A defense with that talent level that I just described should be, at minimum, an upper half defense in the ACC. That's at minimum. But really, that's a defense that should be top 5. Those players that I just mentioned, they got all conference, NFL pedigree. They do. And yet they were, 12th in yards allowed and 14th in points allowed last year. So they were not a good defense last year with better personnel. So it's not a surprise that now with worse personnel that they're an even worse defense. The good news is that they have 2 building blocks for the future that I feel very confident in. They're both true freshmen. Antoine Deslauriers, the linebacker, and Demetres Samuel Jr., the corner. Those 2 players need to be prioritized by Syracuse this offseason. I'm not going to sit here and say they should write them a blank check, but those 2 guys need to be the priority for Syracuse as far as their defensive personnel for 2026. As far as everyone else on the defense is concerned, it's kind of like what we just had with basketball after last year, where if the guy decides to leave, the guy decides to leave. And, I wish him nothing but the best, but I'm sure that Syracuse might be able to find someone who is at least capable of replacing whatever they're going to lose, because I don't know if they're very good in the guys that they are going to lose. And that players will hit the portal. It's inevitable in this day and age. But there's really only 2 guys that they need to prioritize this offseason. If you're wondering about Devin Grant, if you're wondering about Deuce Chestnut, those guys don't have years of eligibility. So I'm not going to include guys that are running out of eligibility. I'm just talking about some of the younger guys on this team right now. Those 2, Antoine Deslauriers, Demetres Samuel, they need to be prioritized. Everyone else, if they decide to leave, they decide to leave, and you look to either replenish from within or you go out in the portal and find someone else. That's where I'm at with the defense, but it all goes back to their defensive coordinator and Elijah Robinson. He's not good enough as a defensive coordinator, and Fran Brown has got to let him go this offseason, even though it might be hard for him to do that. He's got to let him go.